Alrighty, hey everybody, good to have you all join. Just going to wait a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. Just have some people still coming through, and then we can get started. Might just share my screen and get ready. Hope everybody's having a good start to the new year. Can't believe we're already nearly through January. It's insane. So for those who have joined, want to try to keep this session interactive. I've got the Q&A, the chat open. So yeah, any questions throughout, feel free to send me a message. And yeah, may as well get started. So welcome to the first product webinar of 2026. Just to give you a bit of an idea, so we do these every month, and then we also have another session called Cosmos Campfires, which is more focused on individual product features, or generally, if we've got a new release or anything like that, we'll do like a focus session on those. So if you ever wanted to, find out a little bit more about particular features, you can join one of those as well. But today we're pretty much just going to go through like a general overview of Mission Control. I'm going to show you some of the functionality, and as I said, yeah, try to keep it as interactive as possible. So, my name's Josh. I'm an account executive here. I've been in sales now, SaaS sales for nearly a decade. I've been using Salesforce as my primary CRM as a sales guy. But yeah, this is the first company that I've worked for where I am selling a product that integrates with Salesforce and really, enhances the Salesforce functionality. Just wanted to share a little bit of information about our team. So we've got three account executives spread across the globe. I'm based in Australia, and I manage all of APAC and the West Coast of America. My colleague Julian, he's based out of Canada. He manages the East Coast, all of Canada, and all of Europe. And then my other colleague Alexi, who manages more like Central America. A couple of other people to highlight as well. So we've got Corey Kleinbauer. He's our CRO. So he's been in the kind of ISV, Salesforce ecosystem for quite some time now. And then our main guy, Colin Johnson, who's the CEO and co-founder with Chris, who's our CTO. And also Victor, who manages our professional services. So, he'll take you through implementations, and he also kind of works with our clients if they've got any kind of project work and they want to engage with us. A little bit about Mission Control. So we're about 15 years old now, and we started. So Colin, going back to Colin, he ran a consultancy company implementing Salesforce for businesses with my CTO Chris, who's the co-founder, and they both one day were just like, we need a better way to manage the work that we're doing. So him and Chris built their own project management or PSA platform to use internally, and here we are selling it today. So it's a really, really good product. Colin and Chris have been in the Salesforce ecosystem for pretty much, I guess, since its inception, and very, very well known. So over the 15 years, we've got clients across 25 countries. And yeah, we're getting to that 15-year mark now, working within the Salesforce ecosystem. A little bit about Mission Control, I guess, from a product perspective, and I guess as a business as well. So the number one thing that I like to point out is we are what we call native to Salesforce. So you open Salesforce, you're going to see Mission Control, no separate logins. I've been working with a lot of clients recently that are going through consolidation processes, so spread across multiple systems, with a big desire to keep it all in one. So I think a really big point to highlight about us is the fact that there's no kind of login barriers, no integration issues. We are, completely connected with the Salesforce product. We work out of the box. So, from my understanding, compared to other kind of PSA platforms, Not many plug and play. So I think it's really great that if you wanted to use us in, I guess, a basic fashion or not too customized, you can pretty much install Mission Control into your Salesforce org and start using the functionality straight away, which I think is really good. Ties in with the no implementation required part as well. We don't necessarily have to go through a full rollout to get things up and running. You can pretty much get it up and running on yourself. But we do have customers that'll come to us and say, hey, we have a very specific use case. We need some assistance in customizing this a little bit more. So it's a very flexible program. From a learning and I guess a support perspective, I've worked for a lot of different businesses. Not many have, I guess, like a certification process or a learning portal. We have a fantastic one. I went through it when I was onboarded into the business, and it's pretty much given me all of my product knowledge in how to use Mission Control, which you'll see is a fantastic and very comprehensive product. And then just that previous screen where I showed all of my colleagues kind of spread across the globe. We have a full customer success team. I've got some based in Australia, some based in the US. So you've pretty much got 24/7 coverage when it comes to support. A little bit of information around how we kind of fare against our, I guess, competitors. I don't really like to talk too much about how we're better, right? Everybody has their own kind of quirks and I guess good features. But one thing that I really do like to point out is just the feedback that we get based on our customer service and just our general interactions with our clients. So you can see there that our NPS score is sitting at 81. The average when it comes to SaaS or any kind of technology platform is around that 40 to 50 mark. So I think it really is a testament to the kind of work that we do here and how closely we do work with our customers. Part of my role as an account executive as well is kind of like an account manager. So I've actually got a book of business where I manage, over a couple hundred clients, and I interact with them on a daily basis. So yeah, we have the opportunity to work really closely with all of our customers. And just to highlight a couple, this isn't a bragging page. What I really like to emphasize here is Mission Control is not used for one type of industry. We're spread across multiple different industries. Really, if you're managing any kind of project work, whether it be, installation, ongoing support, and general product stuff, you can definitely use us. But yeah, just wanted to kind of emphasize that, there's no one industry that we work better with. I think we work pretty well with everybody. What I like to do generally when I'm going through, I guess, like a sales process with a company is to find out the areas that they're trying to improve. I have a report that we ran a couple of years back, which was essentially highlighting the kind of ROI that people are getting when they're using our platform. But I guess the top two, which is the most important to every business, is being able to increase revenue and increase profit. Really, this is through efficiency and visibility. A lot of people that I speak to, they're living out of spreadsheets. They're spread across multiple systems, at times doing things like double entry. We're losing money here. So what we really want to do is right at the beginning or in the early stages of the interactions we have with clients is, hey, what are the areas that you're looking to improve? Can we measure that area? And I'm really, really confident that, these numbers that we're putting on the screen here, we could definitely achieve through the work with Mission Control. So what I'm going to go through today, as I mentioned, is I guess like a general overview of, probably the most used functionality, I guess, the stuff that our clients are generally using on a day-to-day basis. But really what we cover is a number of different areas. So the first is around resource management. So how do we schedule our people for work? How are we measuring the cost of, what we pay them versus what we're charging the customer? Can we get a little bit of insight into future availability, right? Let's say I'm rostered on or I've got 4 or 5 projects that I'm working on next week. It would be good for my manager or, somebody that's scheduling work for people to be able to see, hey, does Josh have the capacity next week? He doesn't, we probably have to find somebody else. We can get really granular with the way that we roster or the way that we schedule work for individuals through, maybe they've got a set of skills that we need specifically for that piece of work, maybe based on their location. Do we want to segment them by team? So really, we've got some very, very comprehensive resource management tools. From the project management perspective, as I mentioned, we're fully native to Salesforce, so we integrate completely to Salesforce, which means we integrate with the objects that are in there. So we can generate projects based on different things that we interact in Salesforce. Opportunity, as an example, which I'm going to go through today. Maybe we want to set a trigger that says when I won an opportunity with a customer or a client, I actually want a project to be generated automatically. We can clone. We use templates. I think, using templates when it comes to project work, especially if there's repeat work or, similar kind of interactions, that's going to speed up a lot of time when we're, managing that stuff. We cover agile, waterfall, generally any kind of project style or, method that you use. And we do that, using, I guess, a number of different tools. So we have a Kanban board, a Gantt chart. We can track, the baselines to make sure that we're not deviating too much from plan. We can do things like tracking risks and issues. And then once a project's completed, we can run retrospectives as well. From a time tracking perspective, we have a timesheet function, and this really is, I guess, the core of how we can track our profit, right? It's how much is our budget, how much are we paying our individual, the hours are being logged, the timesheets are being approved, what's our overall at the end. And we can also kind of route that through approval processes too. From a financials perspective, you've got full financial tools, being able to track your revenue, your costs, your profit and loss. Because we are native to Salesforce, if Salesforce is integrated to any kind of financial system, Xero, MYOB, we're able to push across kind of invoices. So then we can then, share those invoices with the client for payments, and then we can pull those statuses back if you wanted to. And then just the last three, just around, I guess, program management. This is generally for larger clients that are, interacting or have clients that have got multiple projects running at a specific time. Really what we want to be able to do is, kind of segment those different projects. Maybe potentially we want to build things like storyboards. And then you can see down the bottom there, Gantt chart, Kanban board, that's for everything. So it's not as project specific. And then from a collaboration perspective, we can utilize tools like Chatter, which is the Salesforce functionality. One of my clients, personally, I actually manage this company brands. This was a case study that we ran, which is available on our website. But I thought I would just highlight, I guess, a little bit of work that we do with one of our customers. But they said over the last 3 years, we've had a 30% increase in efficiency, allowing us to deliver more projects and research. Mission Control's real-time data has enabled each of our project managers to save 4 man days per month. So very, very compelling kind of ROI there. And Brands is, a long-time customer of ours that I've been working with. All right, so that's it for the slides. I don't want to go through too many slides. So what we're going to jump into now is, I guess, the demo of Mission Control and the platform. And as I mentioned, team, if you do have any questions, feel free to put it into the Q&A. Happy to jump on those as we go along. So you're going to notice that this looks very, very familiar. We're looking at Salesforce, and this is actually a Mission Control dashboard that we have pre-built that customers have access to. And yeah, we're fully native. So you can tell that I didn't have to log in or anything like that. As soon as I've opened up Salesforce, Mission Control is sitting there. So this is a dashboard that you'd have access to. We can create reports using Mission Control data, which we can then turn into dashboards. So everything rolls up together, which is really good. Now, going into the actual Mission Control product, the very first thing that I like to show is what we call the Mission Control console. And what this is a kind of go-to to be able to, I guess, access different parts of the Mission Control tools. So the Launchpad is where we can do things like create new projects, clone previously created projects. We can create programs. So we have what we call a kind of portfolio management, so 7 layers. So we've got a portfolio. Underneath that portfolio, we have what we call programs, which could be a mixture of projects that we're working on for a particular customer. And then we go into the actual individual project underneath that, which is then broken down into kind of task management. We also control all of our settings from here as well. So any kind of settings or anything that you need to set for Mission Control is accessed from this screen. So what I generally like to do is start start I guess, like the demo talking a little bit about what we call roles. So roles are our individuals, our employees, the people that we work with. Sometimes they can be customers, right? Maybe we collaborate with the customer and customers want to jump in and, put some updates in or make notes or something like that. We can have them in there as well, which would be linked to Salesforce records. And really, our roles, I think, underpin a lot of the work that we do and a lot of the data that we pull. So I've just clicked into this top one, just so that I can kind of highlight a couple of different parts. But we control everything that this individual does from this screen. So when I click on this edit button, it's going to go into, Alana's detail. The very first thing that I'll point out is we set here what Alana's hours per week that we're expecting her to work. We expect that 80% of her time to be billable hours. And we can see that we've broken that up into 8 hours per day as well. What I've got here is her billable hourly rate. So this is what I'm going to charge a customer for Alana's time. And then this is what we pay Alana based on that bit of work. So this is how we're going to get, our profit and loss. As I mentioned, this really underpins a lot of the work that we do in here. A couple of other things that we can control here, which I'm actually going to come back to this screen when we jump into the project overview, but we control what they can and cannot see. So you can see here it says view inside tab, view overview tab. So if I untick that, they're not going to be able to see those particular sections. So as an example, I've got an end user or somebody that's working for me. I am, charging my customer. I handle all the financial side of things. Alana doesn't need to see what I bill the customer. So I might hide the billing tab from Alana. Now, two other things that I'll point out on this is just around teams and skill assignment. So what I would generally do here is I would say, cool, Alana works for me. She's based in APAC. She's a part of the consultants team. And I also want her to be considered all internal staff as well. So what we're saying here is Alana is part of a specific team. You can see here next to consultants that I've ticked her master team here. And this is actually really going to support us when we're trying to schedule work for individuals. So if I have a particular piece of work that needs a consultant, but I don't know who I want to find or who I want to apply to that, this is really going to be helpful in segmenting. And then the other part is around just the skills. So, as you can see here, Lana's skilled in analytics. She's a trainer. She's got the skill in configuration, and she speaks English, right? So we can actually create skills and we may say, hey, I need an individual that is going to train this customer of ours. They're based in Australia, so she needs to be able to speak English. So then again, when I'm searching for the right person, it's going to give me that right information. So that's a little bit about the role. And as I mentioned, this I think is like one of the most important parts of, using mission control, and, having somebody that's able to, access the different parts. Okay, so now we'll talk a little bit about project creation. So there's many ways that we can create projects. We can create one from scratch, as I mentioned earlier. We can clone existing projects, meaning we've got a bit of a template library, right? That's like, hey, I've got 5 or 6 different types of work that I do for my customers. Um, I want to be able to replicate work that I've done. This is going to speed up a lot of the time when we're building our projects. So they're the first two, new from a clone. The other ways that we can do it is we can do it based on information that's contained in a Salesforce opportunity, as an example. And then it's going to be triggered based on the stage that I set. Now, this particular functionality is not out of the box. It is created by a flow, very, very straightforward flow. And what it says here is once, status or stage is equal to close one, we want you to generate a project based on that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into this box here. You can see project auto generation. What I want to do is set the generation method. I'm going to choose opportunity. So I'm saying I want to create a mission control project based on the opportunity. I'm going to select the template that's in there. We'll just use this top one. So I'm going to create this mission control implementation template. I'm going to set the start date to next week because I know I'm going to kick off that work next week. And then I'm going to hit save here. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go to the stage. I'm going to select closed one, hit save like that. And then in a few moments, what that'll do is that's going to then generate a project. So I've specified the fact that we want to generate this particular template, and then it's going to generate that project based on that template there, which is really helpful. So I think when I think of, I guess, like where this could be applied is we've got a sales team that's working on the opportunity. They've spoken to somebody in the team or the implementation team to say, hey, I've got a deal that's going to come through, about to hit close one. Who can we apply or who can we assign to this piece of work? This is the template that we're going to use. And then after that, the implementation team takes over. Okay, so we've generated our project. I'm just going to go into this project that I created earlier. And what we've got is our project detail. So as I mentioned, we're native to Salesforce. This is the custom objects that sit within Salesforce. And you'll notice along this top bar here that we've got a number of options. And then you'll see here insights, overview, detail. If I then go back to Alana's role record, we can see here insights, overview, detail. So the parts that I mentioned that we can hide earlier, it's in that section there. So this is what we may remove. What I would say is typically a new mission control customer, when they come on board, they might do like a rollout in stages. So maybe we might only focus on a couple of these different tools instead of allowing them to have access to all of them. It's kind of completely up to you. So the first tab that we're looking at is an Insights tab. This is really a high-level overview of where the project's at, who's the owner, what's our budget, how much of the work has been completed. And then looking down the bottom, are there any ways or is there any outstanding invoices, or can I actually generate an invoice for this customer because we've completed work? How many hours have we completed that are considered billable and non-billable? And then we've got our profit and loss, very high level profit and loss data there as well. You can actually, again, hide different parts of this. If there's, specific data points that you don't really need to see, we can remove it. Really straightforward. The next one is what we call the overview tab. So this is what we call our work breakdown structure. Now, when I work with a customer, generally what I'll do is I'll say, hey, give us an example of the project that you run, kind of like on a regular basis. And then I'll kind of bring that to life within the account. So as I mentioned, this is a very high level overview of the mission control functionality. But if you did want to catch up, I guess, one-on-one, talk a little bit about your use case, I'd be happy to kind of, transcribe what you do on a daily basis into mission control to show you how you can, use it. So work breakdown structure, these are the different stages of the project. We're breaking it up into kind of different stages. The first kind of level that you're going to see here is what we call a milestone. So these are like the big overarching milestones that we need to achieve. And then just going to expand that, you can see here that we've got what we call actions. So these could be considered tasks, subtasks. So really these 5 tasks that I have here, once these are completed, then my overall milestone is going to be completed afterwards. Now, there's a lot of data in here, might look a little bit overwhelming, but once you understand it, it's pretty straightforward. But what I've got here is my status. So is this planned? Is this completed? Is it in progress? We've got our start and end dates with indicators saying, hey, 20th of the 1st, we're sitting on the 21st today. So this has not started yet. So we're going to kind of red flag that to let you know, hey, we're deviating a little bit from plan. As people start to complete their work, they complete timesheets against the different line items. This is going to start to update. So you'll see, 4 hours completed. We're about 50% along the way. So yeah, very, very detailed, very granular bits of information. And we can actually go one step further if we wanted to, and we can have what we call checklist items. So we've got our milestone solution architecture. We've done our first draft solution, but these 3 checklist items, so these 3 things that we need completed, this is what makes up that subtask there. And then there's a couple of other things that we can do from here as well. So what I'll talk about now is a little bit about how we assign people to work. And you'll notice here that I've got this kind of owner or role type called placeholder. So the reason that we put placeholders in templates is we know that we need a project manager, but we don't know who we're going to assign to it yet. So project managers, the role that we need for this particular piece of work, we don't know who we're going to assign it to just yet. So what I can do if I wanted to assign somebody to this individual task, action, as I mentioned, we'll call it, I'm going to click on this assignment wizard button. And this is going to give me my resource assignment wizard options. So what we're saying here is, cool, now that we've created the project, we've got our start date set, what I want to do now is find the right people to work on this piece of work. So you can see here, I've got a placeholder project manager. They've got 2 hours that they've got to work for this particular piece of work. So what I want to do is I want to go and search for my project managers. I'll set my start date to yesterday because that's the action time. And then I'm going to click this search button. So what we've got here is we've got two project managers that work for me. We've got Josh and we've got Kelly. And this actually gives me some insight into what the next week for these individuals actually looks like. So I can see here as an example, Kelly, on the 18th, he seems pretty busy at the moment. This is 18 hours for the day. So, Kelly's not going to get a lot of sleep, unfortunately. So I'm probably going to guess that he's going to spread that bit of work across these 2 days here. So it seems like Josh is going to be the best fit. So I'm going to drag Josh onto this here. Josh has now been assigned those 2 hours of work. Now I know Kelly's super busy, but I actually want to get Kelly just to support Josh a little bit through this. So I'm just going to get rid of this one. Get rid of that one as well. So Kelly's going to do here, Josh is scheduled for 6 hours, but what I want to do is I just want to give 2 of those hours to Kelly. So now both Josh and Kelly are going to work on this particular action together to get that completed. So really, really good insight, awesome visibility, right? We can see exactly how many hours this individual has been scheduled. And then, yeah, we're going to make good decisions when we're scheduling them on there. So that's if we want to assign an individual person to a piece of work. So just for this one here. But another way that we can actually assign individuals to projects en masse, so we're not having to go in and do it individually for each item, is by using this auto assignment option. So what this is going to look for is a couple of things. So the first is going to be capacity. Does this person have the time to work on this? Are they already scheduled to do other work? The next thing that it's going to do is either look for the team that they work for or look for the skill that is required to complete that. So what I want Mission Control to do is I want them to recommend me an individual for each line item based on the team that they're a part of. I click this assign button. Got our little cool mascot Cosmo going across a conveyor belt. Mission Control is having a little think. And then what it's going to do is it's going to give me a list of recommendations or the best people that it thinks is going to be on there. So for my solutions architect, I've got a couple of different options here. Now, these placeholder roles, they're going to be a higher match just because they're obviously not real people. They're not really rostered on. So Mix kind of my only option at this stage for this role. I've got a liner for this piece of work. From a training perspective, we can see that Stephanie is an 85% match. So Stephanie is not scheduled to work for a while. She's got the correct skills that she needs. And then from a project manager to oversee everything, what I want to do is give that to Josh. So now when I click this assign button, Mission Control is just thinking in the background. And then you'll notice on this screen back here, we've got our placeholder roles. I've got 352 scheduled hours in total. I'll hit refresh on this page. Give that a sec. And then just going back to my overview page now, you'll see that I've got individuals scheduled against that work. So only a few minutes really to use that tool. I think it's really awesome, speeds up a lot of time. Our customers absolutely love the feature. And then that's not hard coded, or it doesn't mean once they're assigned, that's it, we can't make any changes. we can still go in on an individual basis and yeah, schedule that. All right, so going just through, I guess, across this bar here. So we've done the insights, we've done the overview, we've spoken about the rules. Now, what I want to talk a little bit about is from a day-to-day basis, how are people managing their projects using Mission Control? So the first one that I'll cover is what we call the whiteboard. Really, this is a Kanban board. So similar to any Kanban style tool, we have one in here as well. And one thing that I will point out is the tools that we've got along this bar here, they're going to be relevant to the project that we're sitting on. You'll notice at the top, I've got a whiteboard and a Gantt chart option as well. This is to whiteboard or have a Kanban view of all projects that I'm working on. Kind of like like the master whiteboard or the master Kanban and the master Gantt chart. So we can filter the titles at the top or the different columns. So column heading based on action owner. What I want to do is do it by priority or let's do it by status. So we can see here that I've got all my actions here that are considered planned. What I'm going to do now is reflect that I'm working on this particular action. When I expand that, I can get a little bit more detail about what's happening. And I've got some quick options here on the right-hand side too. So lots of people use Mission Control differently. I've got customers that use Kanban, they don't use Gantt chart. I've got customers that use Gantt chart, they don't use Kanban. So using this Kanban board, a couple of things that we can do here on the right-hand side. The first is utilizing the chatter tool that Salesforce has. So, if I'm working on a project with somebody or I want to loop in another team, I've got that chatter option there, which I think is really helpful. We can have a look at our checklist items, or we can add checklist items if we wanted to directly from this screen. So they're those subtasks underneath actions. I can raise any kind of issues. So, let's say we're working on a project. I want to raise that there's a risk that, maybe we're deviating from plan or customers not joining our meetings, right? We want to identify these issues, these risks, and then, work collaboratively to get them fixed. Another thing that we can do from here is log time. So, me as an individual contributor, I know that I'm working on this, I've completed it. I can come in here and I can create a timesheet for this particular piece of work. So really, really comprehensive Kanban board. And you can also have some custom fields in here if you wanted to add them in. The next is the Gantt chart. So very, very similar to, all Gantt charts. But a couple of things that I will highlight that might be a little bit different from the ones that you use. We've got our work breakdown structure on the left-hand side here. So this is very similar to that overview page. And then as I expand that, we've got our milestones. And then as I expand that again, we've got our actions. And then I can also have the checklist items as well. So you'll notice these kind of squiggly lines that we've got connecting to each action, each milestone. These are dependencies. So I might say as an example, I need to actually link this here as well, because if I move this out, I also need to reschedule this piece of work as well, because I can't actually complete any of this until this is done. So very, very comprehensive. We can also do things like make changes in line. So if I needed to make any updates, if I needed to log time, I can log time through here as well. And again, chatter everywhere for that collaboration. Now, one thing that I didn't highlight as well is if I make a change to this action, if I log a time against this action, any updates, that's going to roll up into all the different parts of the project. So it doesn't mean that I have to update it in a different screen. If I make a change here, it changes everywhere, which I think is really helpful. A couple of tools along here. One thing that I really like to point out is just around baseline tracking. So really, when I spoke a little bit earlier around the ROI and I guess the more efficient that the people are working, some companies that we work with don't have visibility across deviation. So I think being able to see this is what we originally planned, we're deviating off plan, for whatever reason. I want, as a business owner, that visibility to see, hey, who of my team is more efficient, who's hitting their deadlines, why are people not hitting their deadlines? I'm just going to pause for 1 second and just quickly check the chat to see if there's any questions in here. Okay, we seem to be good at the moment. But yeah, team, any questions, please reach out. All right, so we've done the whiteboard, the Kanban board, we've done the Gantt chart. Some other things that we can do within a project is we can track expenses. I mentioned that we have a risk log and issue log as well. So we raise the risk. Do we want to promote that to an issue? But just being able to, track, I guess, the different things that are happening within the platform. Um, a couple of other things as well is we can create invoices, POs. We can put our expenses in if you are tracking any kind of expenses, and we will be able to, push that across to financial systems, depending on what financial system you use. Okay, so we have created our roles. We've created a project. Project is ongoing. What we want to have a look at now is how people log time against the work that they're doing. So I'm viewing this as myself. If you are a manager, or depending on how you have the permissions set up, I guess like the flow of work set up, you might have a screen that says, "Hey, we need to get you to approve some timesheets for individuals." So we can do all of that within Mission Control. So what I'm looking at here is the actions that I'm working on for this particular week. So the week of the 19th. And these are the two things that I'm working on at the moment. So very, very straightforward and very easy. I did 4 hours on here. Yesterday I did 5 hours. Today is ongoing. And I know that I also did 2 hours on this. So what we're saying here is we're just logging our hours. This is going to give you visibility into, how much we're charging our individuals, and give us our profit and loss as well. If we want to make some detailed notes on a particular timesheet, I just double clicked on that screen there. I can put some notes in, if there's any kind of issues, any checklist items that I've completed, and then we can have time log types, right? Maybe we want to split it into billable, non-billable. And then another thing that we can do here is have a stop start timer. So let's say I'm about to do a piece of work. Maybe you want to be really granular with how you're charging. I would start the tracking of the time. So if I click on that, you'll notice that it's going to go, it'll turn into like a red color to say, where we're tracking at the moment. And then when I'm ready to stop, I can then complete the details on there, and then just save that. And then that's going to create a timesheet for me as well. Another way that we can view this too, which some of our customers do, which I actually quite like as a feature, is being able to integrate with other calendars or people's calendars. So they've got their calendar view there, they've got the days that they're working. We've connected it in a way to say, hey, I'm doing a reverse demo, on this particular day as an example. And then what we can do is we can then click into that and I can actually log time directly from here, which I think is also helpful. So a couple of different ways that we can log time. Another thing down the bottom too, you'll notice I've got log time, log expenses, add risk, add issue. So I can actually, even from this screen here, I can create a timesheet from there as well. So multiple ways that we can do it. I think what I would probably say is, and this might be, for the people on the call, something that they struggle with, but just trying to get people to complete timesheets might be a little bit of a problem sometimes. So I really like that everything's in the one screen and very, very straightforward, to be able to, go through that. Okay, so the last two things that I just wanted to talk about was the master Kanban and I guess the master Gantt chart. So really all this is just being able to roll all of the projects that we're working on into the one screen. I would say generally this is for people that are doing like the assigning of the work or some kind of senior manager, just so then they can get a bit of an idea of where the team is at. I think it's really helpful to have that all in one place view. And then we've got a lot of kind of like filters and, different settings and how we want to kind of pull out data as well. So I think that that's really helpful. You as an individual could potentially, schedule work for people or make updates. It's completely up to you there. And then just with the master Gantt chart as well, we are, I think, one of the only businesses that allows kind of interconnected dependencies. So you can see here on my left-hand side, I've got multiple projects. These are individual projects that I'm working on. And I might say as an example, hey, before I complete this needs analysis for the Billabong webinar, I've actually got to make sure that it's in line with another project that I'm working on too. So I think being able to manage your day better, see a timeline view, and connect things that need to be completed before the other, really, really helpful as well. And then one thing that I didn't bring up actually was just around the scheduler. So me as a person that's allocating people to work, I want full visibility across what's happening with the team. So we have our auto assignment wizard where we can look at capacity in that screen to see on an individual basis. We have sorry, not the auto assignment wizard, the assignment wizard, the auto assignment wizard. We don't have the visibility. Mission Control is going to do it on its own. But then, maybe I'm chatting with my sales team and my sales team says, hey, I've got a customer that's going to come through. We need your support. Can you find me the best individual for that? So I might come in and I might be like, hey, I'm just going to quickly have a look at the schedule and just have a quick scan through to see the next couple of weeks what it looks like. I needed a project manager. So Kelly, he's kind of touching on that, 5 to 6 hours a day. So I've actually set a threshold to say, anything above 4 hours or 5 hours in a day, go amber. Sorry, that yellow color. And then, yeah, Mick, we can see here is way too busy. So for next week, looks like Kelly's pretty free. So yeah, I'm going to put Kelly on that piece of work. A couple of other views that you've got in the scheduler as well is we can look at it by action. So, Kelly's working on a couple of different things at the moment. But what I actually want to do is I want to just move this for Kelly for next week because I know he really, really needs to focus on this piece of work here. So full visibility across everything. I think the scheduler is an awesome tool, really, really powerful. And, most of our customers, I would say they really like this hours total. It's just that really kind of like wide overview of what's included there. Yeah, went through the timesheets, did the Gantt chart. Um, And that is pretty much it for what we were going to go through today. Does anybody have any questions at all, any feedback, anything that maybe they'd like me to highlight or cover over? Okay. Alrighty. Well, again, just to kind of highlight, I guess, a little bit about my role. So, as I mentioned, I'm an account executive. So, if anybody has any questions or they'd like to see a more in-depth demo, a little bit more focused, I guess, on what their process is, please reach out. I'll share my details after, and we'll also share through a recording of the webinar. And yeah, we have a product focused one that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. So if you are interested in having a little bit more of a detailed view in functionality, please join. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining today, and we will chat soon. Bye for now.